Discover the incredible moment a poor girl uncovers a hidden millionaire, her life changes forever. Emma's heart raced as she descended the creaking wooden stairs of Mr. Thornton's basement. Dust motes danced in the sunbeams that sneaked through the corner of the window, illuminating the forgotten relics of the man who always seemed so alone. He was more than an old soldier, he was a keeper of stories, a mentor to her in a world that often felt too big. Each time she volunteered to help him, Emma felt a spark of purpose ignite inside her. But nothing could prepare her for the monumental discovery lying just beneath the surface of that cluttered space. As she swept the dust off some weathered boxes, Emma felt something solid beneath her fingers, a chest, heavy and ornate, with intricate carvings. Her pulse quickened. Was this just another relic, or was it something more? With a deep breath, she lifted the lid. Inside, she found an assortment of antique coins glimmering in the soft light, alongside different documents and photographs that whispered tales of a life well lived. Coins. Actual treasure. Could this be the answer to all her family's struggles? But as the thrill of discovery sunk in, a lump formed in her throat. Emma thought of Mr. Thornton, the kind-hearted man who recounted stories of valor and bravery, a man who bore the weight of his past with quiet dignity. Revealing this secret would shatter his world, and she couldn't shake the feeling that it would ruin their friendship. Could she let financial desperation drive a wedge between them? Whispers in town began to circulate like wildfire when she confided in her friend Sarah. "Did you hear? Mr. Thornton might be rich." The small-town gossip grew legs, and suddenly everyone was talking about the wealthy recluse. Emma's stomach churned. This was a town built on trust and humility, where neighbors shared meals and laughter over fences. Yet now, the very essence of that closeness was fraying. Emma felt trapped between her dreams and a man's dignity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, and tensions mounted. Emma's father, who juggled 3 jobs to keep them afloat, hadn't missed the townspeople's murmurs. "This isn't about what's right for us, Emma, it's about what's right overall," he'd say as he rubbed his weary eyes. With each passing moment, Emma felt the weight of the secret bear down. Her heart ached for her family yet longed to protect Mr. Thornton's legacy. It felt like a heavy storm cloud looming, waiting to unleash its rains. Then came a haunting night where Emma lay awake, wrestling with her thoughts. The alignment of loyalty and prosperity clashed violently. How could something so good feel so wrong? With determination, she resolved to confront her feelings, and that urge to confide in Mr. Thornton grew fierce. But would she be too late? The town was already spiraling into division, each side stoking the fire of rumor and resentment. Emma faced one undeniable truth: her choice could alter everything, for better or worse. Would she protect Mr. Thornton's trust, or chase a dream that promised nothing but uncertainty? The chapter of her young life was about to flip open like the pages of a well-worn book, waiting for a story only she could write. The morning sun spilled through Emma's window, casting golden rays that seemed to taunt her restless heart. She sat at her desk, staring blankly at her homework while the world outside continued without her. The whispers of the townsfolk echoed in her mind like a haunting song. Mr. Thornton might be rich, they would say, and each time it felt like a stab. Her resolve to protect him battled against the desire to scream the truth from the rooftops. "What's the point of this?" she muttered to herself, pushing her books aside. It wasn't fair. She wished the discovery hadn't happened. The chest could remained hidden forever. Yet, it was out there now, along with the townspeople's insatiable curiosity and greed. Emma's thoughts turned to her father. His tired eyes and weakened smile filled her with guilt. She knew he was struggling. And how could she look him in the eye, knowing there was enough wealth in Mr. Thornton's basement to change their lives forever. But it was more complicated than that. She didn't just want the money, she wanted the integrity of the bond she shared with Mr. Thornton. The bell chimed at the local church, a sound that snapped her out of her reverie. Maybe it was time to confront Mr. Thornton. She could tell him about the talk swirling in town, about the chaos she felt brewing just under the surface. And perhaps, together, they could deal with it. As her heart raced with the thought of stepping back into that basement, she squeezed her eyes shut to gather her courage. Minutes later, Emma found herself trudging down the familiar path to Mr. Thornton's home. Each step felt heavier, the air thick with anticipation. She paused at the door, her hand hovering above the doorknob. What if he was angry? What if he felt betrayed? She swallowed, steeling herself. As she stepped inside, the musty smell of history hit her, grounding her. Mr. Thornton. She called softly, her voice barely echoing in the embrace of the old walls. Up here. He replied, his voice warm and inviting. Emma climbed the stairs, finding him in the living room, surrounded by books and memories. Mr. Thornton's kind eyes met hers, and for a moment, she felt the comfort and safety they had always promised. But today, the words hung heavy in her throat. Emma, what brings you here? He asked, a soft smile lighting up his features. She hesitated, biting her lip. It's about the chest, she finally managed to say. His expression shifted, a flicker of concern passing over his face. You shouldn't have gone down there. It's not something for you to worry about. But, everyone in town is talking about it, she blurted out. They think you're rich. They think we can help our families with that treasure. His face fell, eyes narrowing as if the very air between them thickened. These rumors can be dangerous, Emma. They can tear a community apart. The sadness in his voice echoed her own inner turmoil. What do we do then? She asked, desperation creeping into her tone. Demar. Thornton sighed, and in that moment, Emma caught a glimmer of the soldier he once was, steadfast and resilient. There's a way forward, but it won't be easy, he said, finally meeting her gaze. We must confront not just the whispers, but the heart of what this treasure means. Emma's breath caught. A realization washed over her, confronting the truth was only the beginning. What followed could change everything. And as she stood in that room filled with echoes of history, she sensed that their journey had just begun. Can we face this together? She asked, her voice almost trembling. Mr. Thornton's eyes softened. Together, indeed. But first, we need to decide what this treasure means to us. As the words hung heavy between them, Emma realized the true test was about more than wealth, it was about trust, friendship, and integrity. What choices would they make in an uncertain future? The storm was coming, and it would take all of their strength to face it. Would they stand united against a tide that threatened to pull them apart? Emma took a deep breath, grasping the weight of Mr. Thornton's words. What did the treasure mean to them? Could it be more than just gold and riches? Confusion flickered in her eyes as she searched his face for answers. He looked back at her, an understanding passing between them. They both felt the heaviness in the air, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. We need to talk about what we truly value, he said, his voice steady. We should understand what's at stake beyond the treasure. He gestured to the dusty old chest in the corner, an artifact of untold stories and secrets. Emma shifted, the floorboards creaking beneath her feet. I don't want the town to turn against you. They're already suspicious, and I can't bear the thought of what they might do. Her voice trembled, her heart racing at the images swirling in her mind, accusations, blame, greed boiling over. Mr. Thornton nodded, his gaze intense. You're right. We need to come together. Starting with the truth. It's not just about the rumors, it's about how our integrity can guide us forward. People need to know they can trust us. She caught his determination, and it ignited a spark in her. What if we organized a meeting? Invite the townsfolk to discuss it openly. We can show them we're not hiding. A flicker of a smile appeared on Mr. Thornton's face. That's a brave idea, Emma. But honesty might lead to more questions than answers. Maybe that's exactly what we need, she replied, a note of defiance creeping into her tone. People crave belonging and understanding. If we can be transparent, we can rebuild their trust. The corners of Mr. Thornton's mouth turned up slightly, and for the first time that day, the air felt a little lighter. You've always been wise beyond your years. As the reality of her proposal began to settle in, doubt crept back in. What if they don't listen? What if they turn their backs on us? She asked, fear creeping into her voice like a shadow. Then we'll show them that our hearts are bigger than their suspicions, he replied, a fierce resolve filling his words. We'll stand together, side by side. Through the whispers, we'll find clarity. The idea formed, solid and true, they had to take the plunge. Emma's heart raced at the thought of standing before the townsfolk. Would they listen? Could they turn things around? Okay, she said finally, exhaling deeply, determination shining in her eyes. Let us do it. Let's take this one step at a time. Then we'll prepare, he replied, smiling at her newfound spirit. But just as they began to sort through their plans, a loud knock echoed through the house. Emma froze, the sound reverberating against the walls, jolting her out of her thoughts. Mr. Thornton's expression turned serious as they both exchanged wary glances. Who could that be? He murmured, moving toward the door cautiously, Emma close behind. With each step he took, tension filled the room like a raw, electric charge. What if it was someone from town? What would they say? As Mr. Thornton opened the door, the sight that greeted them sent Emma's heart racing. A group of town members stood on the porch, eyes filled with suspicion and curiosity. Mr. Thornton, we need to talk, one of them called, stepping forward, the weight of expectation heavy in the air. Emma glanced at Mr. Thornton, her pulse quickening. Was this the moment they had been preparing for? Would the truth solidify their bond or pull them apart? The door hung open in suspense, and Emma felt their hope waver. Would they be ready to face the storm ahead? Let us find out, Mr. Thornton whispered to her, his voice steady just as the door creaked more open. The murmurs from the crowd outside seemed to hang in the air, a distant rumble of uncertainty and suspicion. Emma clutched the hem of her dress tightly, feeling the fabric press against her palm as if grounding her in this whirlwind moment. Mr. Thornton stepped fully into the doorway, standing tall as he faced the townsfolk. The flickering light from the setting sun cast a warm glow, but the coolness of the evening clouded the atmosphere with tension. What brings you here? He asked, his voice strong but laced with restraint. The leader of the group, a burly man named Mr. Jennings, took a step forward. His brow furrowed in concern, framing his eyes. We've heard whispers, Mr. Thornton. Strange happenings around your estate, and that chest we saw yesterday. We need answers. Emma's heart pounded. She wanted to step beside Mr. Thornton, to show solidarity. But fear held her still. Would they believe the truth? Let us talk inside, Mr. Thornton said, gesturing toward the open door. We have nothing to hide. The townsfolk exchanged glances, exchanging quiet murmurings that sent fresh waves of anxiety through Emma. Reluctantly, they stepped inside, their eyes scanning every corner, taking in the disarray from their earlier discussions. Once everyone was settled, Mr. Thornton stood at the front of the room, his posture radiating confidence. Emma perched beside him, trying to channel all the courage they discussed. Thank you for coming. We know there's been speculation about us, he began. And we want to address it head-on. But why should we trust you? A woman in the back shouted, arms crossed defiantly. You've kept secrets. Emma turned to Mr. Thornton, her heart sinking. Would they easily dismiss every effort they made? But he met her gaze, nodding subtly as if to encourage her. Because I believe in honesty, Emma said, her voice shaky but growing steadier. We can't change your opinions, but we are ready to lay out the truth for all to see. The crowd quieted, curiosity creeping into their expressions. She continued, "We found something valuable, yes, but it's more than just treasure. We want to use it for our community, to benefit everyone here." A murmur of surprise rippled through the audience. "What do you mean?" Another voice called out, "Demar." Thornton stepped forward, seizing the moment. "This treasure has the potential to change lives. We want to invest in our schools, improve roads, and provide resources for families in need." The silence that followed felt heavy, yet hopeful. Some faces softened, their skepticism wavering. Others remained hardened, shadows of doubt still lingering in their eyes. "But how can we be sure you're not just looking out for yourselves?" Mr. Jennings pressed, suspicion still etched in his features. Emma leaned forward, her heart racing. "You don't have to take our word for it. We'll involve the townsfolk in every step. This treasure belongs to all of us, so we must decide together how to use it." For a moment, it seemed as if time paused. All eyes were locked on her, watching, waiting for an answer to the unspoken question that hung in the air. Was it worth trusting them? "What if we hold a meeting?" asked a voice from the back, a hint of eagerness surfacing. "A true town hall, where everyone can voice their thoughts." "Yes," echoed another voice, a sense of excitement building. Emma's heart soared cautiously. "Exactly. And we can appoint a committee to oversee everything. We want to be transparent." Slowly, murmurs of agreement began to flood the room. The cloud that had shrouded them was lifting, replaced by cautious optimism. Yet, the fear still lingered at the edges. But just then, an unexpected rattle echoed through the room. Someone pointed toward the doorway, where a shadowed figure leaned against the frame. The newcomer's expression was unreadable, but the air shifted, tension fracturing the fragile hope they had begun to build. "Who are you?" Mr. Thornton demanded, the mood tilting again. The figure stepped forward, revealing a woman dressed in worn clothes, her eyes wide, filled with urgency. "I know about the treasure and I'm afraid it's not safe." Emma felt the icy grip of fear return, washing over the room like a chilling wind. What had they stumbled into now? The moment of truth had just begun. The woman's eyes darted around the room, locking onto the faces of the townsfolk as if searching for someone who might understand. "Listen to me," she implored, her voice rising above the whispering crowd. "You don't know what you're messing with." "Start from the beginning," Mr. Thornton urged, his expression hardening with both concern and frustration. "How do you know about the treasure?" The woman hesitated, her shoulders tensing as if the weight of the moment bore down on her. "My name is Clara," she finally said. "I used to work at the old manor before it fell into disrepair. I've seen things they don't want you to know." Emma felt a chill dance up her spine. She glanced at Mr. Thornton, whose brow was creased with an intensity that matched her own rising fear. "What things?" he pressed. Clara took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "The chest you found, it's not just a treasure. It has a history. People have fought over it. There are secrets that could endanger this town." Mr. Jennings stepped forward, skepticism flooding back. "And why should we believe you? You could be just trying to protect your own interests or stir trouble." "I wish that were true," Clara exclaimed, her voice breaking slightly. "But I'm here because I care about this place. The chest, it's connected to a darker past. If the wrong people get wind of it, they're going to come looking for it, and they won't care who gets hurt." The crowd started to buzz again, unease creeping back in. Emma felt her heart thrumming in her chest. "What do you mean by darker past?" she asked, hoping to keep Clara focused. "The chest belonged to a man who had powerful enemies," Clara explained, eyes widening. "When he passed, the location of the chest was lost. But it was always rumored to contain more than gold, documents, information, things that could ruin lives. People will kill for it." Mr. Thornton shifted, glancing at Emma, who felt trapped between fear of the unknown and the glimmer of hope they'd been trying to create. "What exactly are you saying? Are you saying we need to give it back?" Clara winced. Not yet. You need to understand what you're dealing with first. There are those who are still looking for it. They won't just leave if they know it's here. A hush fell over the room as the meaning of her words sank in. Emma's breath quickened. What do we do? She whispered, searching Mr. Thornton's face for an answer. He hesitated, the weight of her question hanging heavily in the air. If what she says is true, we have to decide whether to keep the treasure safe or risk it all. But first, we must hear more from Clara and find out who these enemies are. The crowd began to murmur again, uncertainty and worry gripping their faces. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside, breaking the fragile calm. Glass shattered in the distance, and the sounds of shouting grew louder. We have to secure the estate. Mr. Thornton barked. Emma, stay close. Panic ignited around them as the doors slammed open, revealing several shadowy figures advancing toward the building. Eyes wide with terror, townsfolk scrambled back. Who are they? Someone shouted. I don't know, Emma whispered, her heart pounding wildly. But it looks like they're here for the treasure. Just then, a loud voice called out from the darkened doorway. We're not leaving without what belongs to us. In that moment, Emma felt a surge of adrenaline. Fear melted into resolve as realization hit this was just the beginning. They would have to fight for what they believed in. As the figures approached, Emma grasped Mr. Thornton's arm and looked bravely into his eyes. We can't let them take it. We have to protect our community. The mood shifted again. This time, the townsfolk were no longer just scared, they were moving toward a common goal, their fear morphing into determination. And as the tension crackled in the air, Emma couldn't help but wonder, could facing this danger strengthen their new resolve, or would it destroy everything they had fought so hard for? Her heart raced as they braced for the inevitable clash. Little did they know, the real battle wasn't just for the treasure, it was for the very soul of their community. The shadows coalesced into shapes, their menacing presence filling the doorway. Emma's heart raced as she pulled Mr. Thornton closer, instinctively seeking comfort in his steady demeanor amidst the chaos. The murmurs among the townsfolk rose, a blend of fear and indignation filling the air. What do we do? Someone called out, their voice thick with panic. Clara stepped forward bravely, her eyes narrowing at the approaching figures. They're here for the chest. She shouted. Remember what I said about the enemies? These are the ones I've been warning you about. The figures crept closer, cloaked in darkness but moving with purpose. The flickering lanterns cast eerie shadows that danced across their faces. Emma could see the intensity in their eyes, a hunger for something they believed rightfully belonged to them. Form a line. Mr. Thornton commanded, his voice cutting through the din. We stand together or we fall apart. With shaking hands, the townspeople found their places beside him, linking arms like a fragile wall against the impending threat. Emma felt the weight of expectation surround them, they had come so far. There was no turning back. This was their home. Stay strong, Emma whispered to Clara, who nodded, but fear still glimmered in her wide eyes. As the shadowy figures drew nearer, one of them stepped into the dim light. He looked familiar to Emma. It was Thomas, the rough-hewn laborer from the docks, usually more concerned with ships than with treasures. Yet there he stood now, a smirk on his face, flanked by others dressed in dark attire. Thought you could hide it from us, didn't you? Thomas shouted, his voice dripping with contempt. That chest belongs to people who recognize power, and we are not letting another day go by without it. Thomas, you don't understand. Clara cried out, stepping forward to meet his gaze. You don't know what's inside. It could destroy lives, our lives. He laughed, a harsh sound that echoed in the tense air. Oh, I understand just fine. Power is everything, Clara. And you're too naive to see it. Emma's heart sank at his words. The stakes were higher than she had imagined. We can't let greed blind us. She shouted, her voice gaining strength as her spirit ignited in the heat of the moment. This treasure isn't just gold, it holds the past, the essence of who we are. The crowd murmured in agreement, bolstered by her passion. Mr. Thornton stepped beside her, his eyes fierce. "We're ready to defend our home," he declared. "Take one step closer, and you'll see how far we'll go to protect it." With every sentiment shared, determination surged, wrapping around them like a protective shield. The shadowy figures paused, the smirk fading from Thomas's face, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Let us not be hasty," he replied, his bravado wavering for the first time. But before anyone could act on that hesitation, Clara's low voice cut in. "If you want the chest, you'll have to go through us. We're not afraid of you, and we won't let you destroy our community for your greed." Emma glanced around at the faces of her friends and neighbors, ignited with a sense of purpose. If she had learned anything from the chaos today, it was the strength of unity. Then, without warning, a loud crash echoed from behind the figures. A massive door swung open, and more shadows spilled in, amplifying the chaos. "Back up!" one of Thomas's companions yelled, spinning around. In that split second, Emma exchanged glances with Mr. Thornton, and they both understood, this was just the beginning. The battle was escalating, and the stakes were getting higher. Clara stood resolute. "We have to fight for our lives and for the truth. This is our town." As Emma tightened her grip on the makeshift weapon she had grabbed, she steeled herself for what was to come. What would they uncover next? She felt it in her bones. They were on the verge of revealing truths that could unite or utterly divide them. As the crowd braced for the storm ahead, Emma wondered what secrets the night would unravel. Would they be able to protect their home, or was something more profound lurking in the shadows, waiting to emerge? Emma's grip on the makeshift weapon trembled as she faced the advancing figures. The air felt charged, thick with the anticipation of conflict. Her heart pounded, sinking with the pulse of her community, held tight in a fragile formation before the dark shadows. The new arrivals swarmed in like a tide, heavy and clinging. She caught glimpses of horrified faces in the crowd, folks who were once her neighbors now caught in the web of fear. Fear was contagious, spreading from one person to another. Yet, she could sense a flicker of resolve waning within them. "We stand together," she whispered under her breath, a mantra to quell her own unease. "Get ready." Mr. Thornton's voice boomed over the churning environment, violent but steady. "No one crosses this line." The figures of Thomas and his crew paused, too. Emma could see now they weren't just there to intimidate, they craved something deeper, a shadow of unquenchable thirst for power that shone in their eyes. She understood that this moment was a tipping point, not just for them but for each person standing beside her. Clara took a step forward again, her voice unwavering as she continued, "This chest carries stories and history, things we don't let go of easily. You can take our lives, but you can't take our spirit." "History?" Thomas laughed harshly, glancing back at his men as if they were the ones who mattered. "Your spirit won't save you now. We know the treasure's worth. You're all fools if you think you can protect something that rightfully belongs to those willing to seize it." "Don't listen to him," shouted a woman from the crowd. A weighty resolve spread like wildfire through the streets. It was known now the chest represented more than gold. It carried the heartbeat of their shared lives, a testament to struggle, hope, and their very unity. Emma swallowed hard, her heart racing fiercely. "We've built this place, brick by brick, our dreams woven into its foundation. You might think fear gives you strength, but it only isolates you." She could see Thomas falter as her words hit their mark, but the hulking figure next to him moved forward, hands raised threateningly. "Enough. We're not here for conversation. You can't stop us." Before she could respond, the shadowy figures rushed forward in a wave, and chaos erupted. From all sides, the town sprang into action, their every heartbeat echoing the fight for their future. Emma took a deep breath, digging her heels into the softened ground. She joined her friends in holding the line as bodies pressed and swayed. Together, they were a force of nature, an emblem of bravery amidst the darkness. "Keep pushing. Don't let them take our home," Mr. Thornton roared, spurring the crowd on, and Emma felt her fear morph into a fierce courage. They pushed back against the darkness, arm in arm, holding their ground. In a fit of adrenaline, Emma swung her weapon as two figures lunged toward her. The unmistakable sound of her resolve rang as it made contact, pushing them back momentarily. Clara's voice rang through again over the tumult, "Remember why we fight. Together, we will prevail." Their unity matched the growing intensity of the fight. Each person became a conduit of determination, and Emma couldn't help but wonder, how deep did the roots of their community run? What other secrets and strengths lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered? As their resolve shone brighter against the encroaching night, Emma's heart raced with hope and fear. She could sense a truth hiding just beneath the surface, promising to uplift or destroy. Was it leading to a victory, or a deeper betrayal? In the whirlwind of struggle, Emma found her gaze locked on Thomas once more. Something had shifted in him, a shadow of doubt blending with that hunger. And just beyond him, new shadows loomed, dark and foreboding. What would unfold in the next heartbeat of chaos? And could they uncover the truth that might tip the balance from fear to victory? Emma felt the tide against them begin to surge once more. Bodies collided with her, their hearts pounding in a chaotic symphony. She caught Clara's eye, a flicker of shared resolve brightened the fear that lingered in the air. In that instant, they were more than just a group of individuals ramping against an invading force. They were a tapestry of hope crafted from years of camaraderie, stitched together by shared dreams and struggles. "Let us push!" Mr. Thornton shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos. The crowd responded with a roar, their collective voice becoming a powerful push against the darkness that threatened to overwhelm them. Emma could feel the heat of determination ripple through her, igniting in her core. With each swing of her weapon, she unleashed her fury, her fear transforming into something more potent. Courage. As the figures of Thomas's crew pushed closer, Emma's breath hitched. She spotted Thomas in the fray, his brow furrowed, eyes darting, the mask of indifference cracking under pressure. Could it be that even he felt the weight of their shared history in that moment? Suddenly, a high-pitched scream broke through the din, a sharp note of terror that pierced the air. Emma's heart sank. A child? The ripple of fear was immediate, and a chill ran down her spine. She turned to see a small boy, no more than 7, trapped in the chaos as people parted away from him. His wide eyes glimmered with fright. "Help!" he cried, reaching out for someone, anyone. Without thinking, Emma dropped her weapon, her body reacting before her mind could catch up. "I got him!" she shouted, weaving through the crowd. The world blurred around her, every heartbeat heightened, every nerve alive. Time seemed to stretch as she dashed toward the boy, dodging hostile limbs and feet. When she reached him, she dropped to her knees. "It's okay, I'm here," she said, her voice low and steady despite the mayhem. Gently, she took his hand and pulled him toward her, wrapping her body around his as protection against the raging storm. "Stay close," she urged, looking around for a safe path, but in the distance, she saw a figure shift. It was Thomas, and he was approaching with wild eyes, anger and confusion dancing in his expression. "Get away from him!" he bellowed, the threat crackling in the air like electricity. It was then Emma realized. He wasn't just a bully, he was scared, too. They all were. Fighting tooth and nail, hoping to claw out their survival in a world that no longer recognized them as people, but as threats. Her heart raced, knowing she had only moments. "Listen!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the haze of chaos. "You don't have to do this. We can find a way to share this whatever treasure you seek. We can shut up." Thomas snapped, his face contorting in rage. But she could see the uncertainty flickering beneath. "Let him go." Clara's voice rang out, empowered, joining Emma's plea. "This boy doesn't belong in a war that isn't his. We're not your enemies." For just a heartbeat, the world fell silent. Emma tightened her grip on the child, her heart pounding not just for herself now but for him, for Clara, for everyone who believed in standing together. Would Thomas relent? Would the shadows be banished by the light of their unity? As she locked eyes with him, a thread of understanding sparked between them, not just a longing for power but an instinct to protect what mattered most. "Don't do this, Thomas," she pleaded, her voice softer, more personal. For it wasn't just about the fight anymore, it was about humanity. His expression flickered again, uncertainty weighing heavily as the battle raged around them. What would he choose? The air crackled with tension as the moment hung heavy, suspended in time. Emma felt the smallest glimmer of hope ignite within her chest, but would it be enough to change the tide? And then, as if carved from the chaos itself, a new voice broke through: "We can't let this go on. We need to remember who we are." All eyes turned to see a leader emerge from the throng, an unexpected ally rising from the shadows. What future did this herald for Emma and her community? And could the tide truly turn in their favor when old wounds still festered? The voice echoed, pulling everyone's focus away from the confrontation. A figure emerged from the crowd, a wiry man with a weathered face, marked by years of hardship. His eyes shone with a mix of determination and vulnerability. "We can't fight like this. We're tearing each other apart over scraps while we forget what we truly stand for." His words hung in the air, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Emma's heart raced. Who was he? Could he truly shift the tide of this chaos? The boy clutched her tightly, and she felt the weight of not only his innocence but the collective anguish of everyone around them. "Remember why we were fighting," the man continued, stepping closer to Thomas, holding out his hands as if to bridge the chasm that had grown between them. "We wanted freedom, a future, but this isn't the way. Look at what we're doing, to the child, to each other." Emma peered at Thomas, who hesitated, wavering like a candle caught in a gust of wind. The hard lines of his face softened just a fraction, and for a heartbeat, there was a flicker of understanding. "What do you mean?" Thomas retorted, though his voice lacked conviction, the heat of anger cooling. "You think we can just ignore what we've lost? Our homes. Our everything. We can't ignore it. But in fighting one bring it back." The man's voice trembled but held steady. "If we join hands instead of fists, we'll not only survive but thrive. This," he gestured at the chaos, "is not who we are." The murmurs rippled through the crowd, like waves of realization crashing into one another. Emma felt a surge of hope, mingled with trepidation. Could they really untangle themselves from this web of resentment? Clara stepped forward, voice steady and clear: "We've all lost so much. But we're here, together. We've fought for our homes, but we must remember we're fighting for each other now." Emotion spread through the throng, faces lightening as disbelief began melting into empathy. Emma squeezed the boy's hand, feeling the warmth of his small palm, driven by the desire to protect not just him but everyone. "Thomas," she called gently, "what do you want? What will fill the void inside you? More conflict, or real connection?" Thomas's brow furrowed, battling a storm inside. Emma held his gaze. She felt vulnerable, exposed, yet anchored by the boy beside her, and the sheer hope radiating from Clara and this stranger. As silence enveloped them, the tension remained thick, taut between the two parties. The smell of sweat and fear lingered, but something else was brewing: a possibility, a crack in their hardened facades. "Think about it, Thomas." Emma's voice trembled briefly before regaining strength. "We've lost so much already. Don't let this moment be another loss." But before he could respond, it was as if the world had shifted into motion again. A loud crash erupted nearby, drowning out the delicate balance they had been trying to create. Chaos surged through the crowd again, pushing them apart and scattering the brave words like leaves in a storm. "Stay close," Clara yelled, grabbing Emma's arm. They turned back toward the boy, rushing him away from the inevitable encroachment of fear and despair. Panic swelled, threatening to consume everything they had just built. Emma's heart raced as she scanned their surroundings, determined to keep the child safe. The stranger's affirmations felt distant now, overshadowed by the looming threat. Was all their effort for nothing? Suddenly, a thought struck Emma: a way to harness the mounting energy surrounding them. We need to rally everyone. If we can unite against this fear, against the chaos. We can't let them divide us. Her voice rang through the tumult, igniting a flicker of resolve in the eyes of her community. They were scared, yes, but together they had faced so much. Could this fire she felt inside spark a new kind of fight? As they rushed forward, ready to reclaim their ground together, Emma glanced back at Thomas, whose eyes were still gleaming with uncertainty. Would he join them, or would he let the shadows pull him back? In that moment, everything teetered on the brink. All she could do was hold on to hope and lead the way forward. Would they find their strength as one, or would the chaos return to consume them all? In the chaos of flashing shadows and rising shouts, Emma squeezed the boy's hand tighter, feeling the fragile thread that connected them all: neighbors, friends, and even those who had once seemed like enemies. The storm of emotions whirled around her, but amidst the uncertainty, a single thought pierced through: unity was their only chance. Everyone! Emma called, her voice carrying over the tumult like a beacon through fog. We have to stand together. This fight is not just about a chest, it's about who we are. The crowd paused, drawn in by the urgency in her voice. Mr. Thornton stepped closer, grounding her as he always did. We've lost too many of our values in this frenzy. We've turned against each other when we should be protecting our home. Emma turned to face the group, breathless but determined. The treasure, she said, it represents us, our struggles, our histories. It's not about gold, it's about building a better future for all of us. If we bicker in the shadows, they'll win. Clara's voice rang out as she joined the call. Each day, we've fought our battles. Let us fight together against the darkness instead of against each other. The words, once pungent with distrust, began to transform into threads of hope. She could see it ripple through the crowd, as hands reached out for one another, as fear transformed to resolve. Thomas stood frozen, wavering at the edge as if at the precipice of a choice. Join us, Thomas. We know your pain, Emma urged, stepping forward, willing to bridge the gap. Show us that there is still a part of you that cares about this community, as broken as it may be. His fists clenched at his sides, the flicker of defiance battling with the hint of concern in his expression. Emma's heart raced. Each of us has lost, he finally said, almost to himself. But how do we rebuild when together? Clara interjected, her tone fierce yet inviting. We can choose to rise above the anger. We can pour our energy into repairing what's broken instead of fighting over it. In that moment, a dawning clarity filled the air. The shadows around them began to recede, pulled back by the rising tide of courage. People were standing, not just for themselves but for real connection. Slowly, Thomas lifted his gaze, his eyes meeting Emma's. There was something there, a desire for change. I want that, he admitted, almost reluctant. For all of us. Taking a deep breath, Emma pressed forward, rallying the crowd. If we open the chest together and explore what it offers us as a community, who knows what we could create? Let us take it back. Someone shouted, and the crowd shifted, springing with renewed energy and purpose. They moved as one unit, a determined line against the creeping shadows, united in their resolve. With a mix of trepidation and anticipation, they marched towards the chest. As they left behind the pent-up anger and mistrust, they felt lighter. There was power in vulnerability, in letting go. Standing before the chest felt monumental, an almost sacred moment, one that demanded respect for the stories it held. The townsfolk gathered in a wide circle, anticipation coursing through the air, hearts racing as Mr. Thornton stepped forward, his hands hovering over the lid. This treasure belongs to the town, not just to any one of us. Whatever is inside can become a bridge toward our future. As he lifted the lid, gasps echoed through the air. Inside lay documents, photographs, and relics that told stories of bravery, dreams, and struggles that resonated with their present. But alongside those, Emma noticed a framed photo of their town's founding families, like a whisper from the past urging them to remember where they came from. This treasure holds our legacy, Mr. Thornton declared, voice steady. Let us understand it, use it wisely, and build our future as one. The crowd erupted into applause, then a buzz of ideas filled the air, excitement growing with every passing moment. Planning committees formed right there, faces alight with spirited hope. Emma beamed, her heart swelling with pride. And as Thomas stepped forward to voice support for the collective aim, Emma caught all the glances of familiar faces around her. Each was transformed by the choice to move from conflict to collaboration. They were no longer enemies but allies, bound by a shared commitment to heal and grow. Together, Emma said, her voice breaking through the noise. We can create a foundation for our future. Let us ensure no child ever has to feel the shadows of fear again. As the cheers erupted, Emma felt resolution bloom, igniting warmth within her heart. They were a community forged anew, where dreams intertwined with trust. They would not only preserve their history but shape their story ahead. And right then, as they banded together, Emma spotted a glimmer in the crowd, something like forgiveness, a spark of joy that promised a brighter horizon. She could hardly believe what they had accomplished. The storm had passed, leaving clarity in its wake, and what lay ahead was bursting with potential. Let us get to work, Mr. Thornton said, his eyes glistening as he nodded at Emma. Magic spun through the air, spun from their histories, fierce hopes whispered into reality. Together, they would rise, together, they would thrive. And at that moment, Emma knew this was just the start of something beautiful. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending below, your thoughts matter to us, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second, show your support as a true fan.